Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to help you get a handle on complex topics quickly. Today, we're jumping into something really critical in the crypto world. How do you really secure your digital assets? You know how it works, right? Your crypto, like Bitcoin or whatever, it's tied to an address, and that address has a private key. Only the person with that key can actually spend the money. Now, the fundamental problem, the real scary part, is that any device connected to the internet, your laptop, your phone, well, it's technically hackable. And if a hacker gets onto your device and finds those private keys, that means your funds are gone. Just poof, period. So pretty early on, people came up with what seemed like a logical fix: cold storage or a cold wallet.
hmm
The idea was actually kind of elegant in its simplicity. You use some software, but completely offline, disconnected from everything, to generate your keys. Your public key, that's like your address, and your private key, the secret one. These are basically just incredibly long random numbers, almost impossible to guess. Then you take that private key and you write it down. Physically, paper, maybe engrave it on metal. I mean, some people might even try to memorize it, which sounds incredibly risky to me unless you've got a photographic memory. Definitely wouldn't recommend that last one. Anyway, you send your crypto funds to the public address associated with that key. And you feel safe because the private key needed to spend it. It's never, ever been on a device connected to the internet. Looked like a perfect solution on the surface, but, well, there was a pretty big flaw, wasn't there?
Well, absolutely. Hit a wall pretty fast in terms of practicality. And what's fascinating, I think, is just how quickly the market had to react to that limitation, that core practical problem. The issue was, okay, great, your keys are safe offline, but how do you actually spend the crypto? To spend it, you had to take that private key you so carefully kept offline and import it back into a software wallet on an online device, a hot wallet. And the moment you do that, well, you've just completely undone the entire security benefit you were going for. And the real catch-22 situation, total paradox. So this is exactly why the market came up pretty swiftly with a really elegant solution. Almost seems like magic, you know? Hardware wallets. And our mission today in this deep dive is really to unpack how these little devices solve that critical problem, how they make cold storage genuinely usable, and maybe why they're becoming more and more vital for anyone seriously holding crypto.
You use the word magic, and yeah, it does kind of feel that way. I'm really interested in how they pull it off. Can you walk us through the core innovation, what's actually going on when I plug one in? We looked at one specific example, didn't we, called the Treasure, like Trezor, yeah, like buried treasure, made by a company over in Prague, I think. And this isn't just some random USB stick, it's a purpose-built piece of hardware. It's designed specifically to work with various software wallets. Things like a web interface, maybe My Treasure, or desktop apps like Electrum. The one we saw, for instance, it works with Bitcoin and Dash using Electrum. So the big question is, how does this little gadget keep things secure even when it is plugged into my computer, which, let's face it, might be compromised?
Right, that's the crucial part. And it's less magic, more just really clever cryptographic engineering. So you plug it in, connect it, the device wakes up and it asks for your PIN. But here's the brilliant bit. You don't type the PIN on your computer keyboard. You look at the hardware wallet's own little screen. And the numbers for the PIN pad, they appear scrambled, different order, every single time you log in. So you're entering the PIN using your computer's mouse or keyboard, maybe clicking numbers on the screen display, but the order is dictated by the scrambled layout on the hardware wallet itself. This means even if you had malware, like a keylogger, recording every single thing you type on your computer, an attacker still wouldn't know your actual PIN sequence, because the sequence changes visually on the secure device each time. And throughout this whole process, the private key itself, it never ever leaves the hardware wallet.
Okay, that is smart. Really clever. It feels like such a simple defense against a really common attack like keyloggers. But okay, let's push it. What if I'm super paranoid? Could some, like, really sophisticated attacker maybe figure out the PIN anyway, even with the scrambling? And then what happens when I actually need to, set some crypto? How does that work securely?
Good questions. So, regarding the PIN, the private key itself is locked away inside a secure chip on the hardware wallet. It's isolated. Even if your computer is absolutely riddled with malware, the worst kind you can imagine, that malware can only see the result of your PIN entry action on the computer, like mouse clicks on certain coordinates maybe, but it can't correlate those actions directly to your PIN digits because of that scrambling on the device screen. Direct interception of the PIN itself becomes incredibly difficult, almost impossible remotely, because the crucial part of the interaction, seeing the number layout, happens physically on the trusted device display, not on the potentially hostile computer. Now, for sending crypto, this is where these devices really shine. After you've put your PIN in, and often there's a passphrase too, which is like a second password, that passphrase can add another really powerful layer of security. Sometimes it even unlocks a totally separate kind of hidden wallet on the device. Very clever stuff. So PIN, passphrase maybe, then you actually start the transaction on your computer software wallet interface. You say, I want to send X amount to this address.
Right. And this is where it gets really cool, from what I understand. Let's say I'm sending, I don't know, zero point 0.1 Bitcoin to a friend. I set it up on my computer screen using Electrum or whatever interface. But then the hardware wallet itself pipes up, its little screen lights up, and it asks me directly on the device, are you sure you want to send exactly 0.1 BTC? Is this the correct recipient address? And it shows the address. It even confirms the transaction fee. Are you okay paying this much for the transaction? And critically, you have to physically press a button on the hardware wallet itself to say, yes, confirm, not on the computer. So what just happened is you authorized a real Bitcoin spend from your cold storage, but your private key never, ever touched the potentially infected computer system. That final confirmation on the device, that's the linchpin, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. That is absolutely the key. It's the final check, the human verification step happening on a trusted, isolated device. The hardware wallet takes the transaction details your computer sent it. It uses your private key, which is stored safely inside it, to mathematically sign that transaction. That signature proves you own the funds. And only after you physically confirm the details, amount, address, fee, on its screen does it finalize that signature. Then it sends only the signed transaction, not the private key, back to the software on your computer. Your computer just broadcasts that already signed, already verified transaction to the Bitcoin network. Your private key never left the building, never touched the net. And because you confirmed the crucial details on the wallet's own screen, you're protected even if some malware somehow managed to change the address or amount displayed on your computer monitor. It's a fantastic closed-loop system for security.
Okay, let's wrap our heads around this then. What's a big takeaway for people listening? The core innovation, really, the breakthrough with hardware wallets, is exactly this. They let you spend your crypto from true cold storage keys that have never been online without ever exposing those precious private keys to your potentially compromised computer or the internet. It means you could, in theory, confidently plug your hardware wallet into almost any computer. A library PC, one you suspect has viruses, doesn't matter. Because the private key stays locked inside the hardware wallet, the computer simply has no way to grab it. And we saw those specific features that make it work, that scrambled PN entry to beat keyloggers. And the super important on-device screen and button confirmation for every transaction detail the amount, the recipient, the fee. It puts you in control at the critical moment.
Yeah, if we zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture, what this technology really does is it empowers more and more people to genuinely act like their own bank, to take real self-custody of their assets, which is becoming, increasingly important for a lot of folks, especially with concerns about centralized exchanges and, well, recent market events. The relative ease of use these devices now offer is key for wider adoption of that self-sovereign idea. And look, the Treasure device we mentioned, it's a great example, but it's definitely not the only one out there. There's a whole market of these hardware wallets now from different companies. So maybe the provocative thought to leave you with is this. What is this shift towards individual control, this personal responsibility for your own finances, enabled by tools like hardware wallets? What does that really mean? What does it mean for the future of how we manage our assets and for the whole financial system as this kind of decentralized approach continues to grow? Something to think about.